Hey, you guys, it's Aunt Jessica, and I had a conversation with a wonderful woman named Ruby, and I want to share that with you guys. We did it on her YouTube channel live, and I recorded it for my channel. So, hope you guys enjoy it. We touch on almost everything trans related with sports and a little bit of children and stuff like that. So, hope you guys like it and stay tuned.
All right. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. So I'm joined today by the lovely Jessica. Is it Gil or Jill? I actually forgot to check in first.
Gil.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I was like, I don't want to sound like totally, ignorant on the topic. But I came across you. I saw you first on the Jubilee video that went totally viral. I'm sure that was like such a fiasco. But I don't like to, talk to you to death about that. I've seen you being like collaborating with like Riley Gaines, who's like popping off, and all kinds of crazy shit going around with that. So if you want, maybe just do like a quick background of how maybe you got interested in this particular topic.
Yeah, I've been in sports all my life. Obviously, I'm a former pro motocross racer, and I currently race those bikes right there.
That is so
But
cool.
yeah, so sports have always been a part of my life, and I understand how important sports are to, like, it kept me out of drugs in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I know for a fact because kids in sports in high school, it's important because to me, not everybody's athletic, I get it, but so when you partic in sports in high school, all you have time for is school, homework, practice, sleep, eat, school, homework, practice. It's a constant. So you don't have time to hang out with friends and, just I never got to go hang out at the mall with my friends on the weekend because I was always preparing for my next event, right? So um that's my background in sports. And then I became a professional athlete in my late 20s, on into my 30s. And then I retired at 40. And now I compete for fun. And I guess they call it grassroots. So um, that's that. And I have a daughter. She's 22 years old. And she was not very active in sports. She played, soccer as a kid and became interested in dance. So dance isn't really something that's being invaded, although it has been invaded by one trans person. There is one trans person who tried out for a ballerina and they gave her a spot, like over in Poland or Russia. I can't remember where it was, but they gave her the
That's the
spot.
next frontier. Then we'll see that popping up. You never know.
So, yeah, but just the thought of me competing against my daughter, like I know the age wouldn't be there, but it never sits well with me, and I can't just sit idle and let it go. Women are too important. I look up to women all my life, and I've always wanted to be one. Just never will be. I understand that it's reality. It sucks, but it's reality. So I want more trans athletes to just listen to me, or listen to women basically. And but I also want to hear from them and have them really sit down and tell me why they think it's important for them to be in the women's division. I compete in the men's division every weekend, and they love it. They actually think it's fun, that a guy with boobs and surgeries is out there whooping ass on some guys. Like some of them get pissed, they get a little testy, but I'm not near the athlete that I was when I was 20. I'm 49, so I'm old, but in my level with other age groups, I have fun and they enjoy it. The guys love it. The girls are always see, and this is the problem that I think where society got wrong is trans people are taking advantage of women's generosity. Women by nature I've said this a million times, but women by nature, and I get the wording wrong, but they're caring, they're nurturing, they want to be inclusive, and that's just the nature of women. And so my point is, when I'm at the track and there is a women's division, the girls are, always like, Jess, race with us, Jess, race with us. And I'm like, no,
See, that's how I would be though. And I've heard people use the term empathy hacking for like what happens with women when our natural instinct to desire, nurture, include almost gets weaponized against us. And you see so many like people talk about polls like being like, oh, but cis women want all, trans athletes. And it's like in very like specific scenarios, but when you get to like these high level competitions where there's a lot on the line, and then you have the history of like women already, having like a less popular, like their athletic competitions aren't viewed as much, and they have specific challenges already. So then to add in another thing that could potentially, what I think about is like what so many women are so non-confrontational that I can picture like a girl who maybe would want to join like a sports team, but if they knew, you know, that a biological male's on that team using those shower rooms, not worms, then they'll want to just avoid the whole situation completely. So that little deterrent, and like you were saying, like with sports, it can be like I wish that I had had like I played soccer when I was really little, but I didn't continue into my teens. But if I had that structure, learned that discipline that sports give you, that like natural reward, those natural highs of being active, working with a team, there's so many huge lessons in that. And another issue I noticed when I talk to like activists, 90% of them don't have much of an interest in sports at all. So when the shit hits the wall and you're like, ultimately they're just happy to get rid of women's sports, period. They will easily concede that. They're like, and they'll say stuff like, oh well, it's because like it's patriarchy that women's like sports are less valued and this and that. And it's just like, it's so wild to me that we've gotten so far into this conversation that for the first time in my life I feel like very controversial for holding a stance that, like, for me, I accept trans women and trans people in every circumstance, but I do have some lines around sports, prisons, things where your biology is relevant, you know. So
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
so you engage in this discussion a lot. Is there any common ground you can get with people, or do you think they're just like lost in the sauce? Like,
Some of them will always default if they feel they can't win in this debate or argument I'm having in the moment. It's always a constant default to, well, third category will be all right, but it's they've already tried it.
mhm.
World Aquatics, there's UCI Cycling already created the open division and said
Yeah,
any man or any woman can. And guess what? Not one trans athlete has signed up for it worldwide. Not even in
right.
the United States, worldwide. They've said here's an open category where y'all can test your metal against everybody. But none of the trans athletes want any of it because I they believe in their head they are a woman. And part of me, not part of me, all of me believes that they know that's bullshit. I think they're just doing it as a social contagion and they just want to be part of the in crowd with the
Mhm.
trans community. So they're like, well, yeah, I'm a woman. I should be in the women's division. It still blows my mind. And maybe it's generational. And, you know, I do get, not to jump around, but I do get a lot of, I don't say hate, but
Mhm.
there's animosity within the trans community
They have no
against,
respect for trans elders, by the way, which I find
they
very
don't.
disgusting because it's
That's
like,
what I was going for.
okay,
Yeah.
like, congrats, you've been trans for 2 fucking seconds. As I see these same people who are activists going after trans individuals and especially trans elders who paved the fucking path for them in the fucking first place, and just like spitting in their face, doing these public campaigns to drag them down. And that's another reason why I keep coming back to this issue, because there's just so many facets that I'm like so confused by.
Yeah,
The lack of
it's
respect is
tough.
crazy.
It's it's tough dealing with. I think the older millennials are generally okay with Gen X here, and but it's definitely Gen Z trans.
Mm,
They disrespect any of the elder trans at a drop of a hat. So that's frustrating. But again, back to the sports. I guess like I would love any of them to explain to me realistically, and I'm not going to use the word, but the word they tend to use, that they're really going to unalive themselves if they
mm,
can't play in the women's division. I mean, come on, it's sports. You're at the, even if you're at the grassroots level, and all the 98% of the girls say, yeah, it's fine. You know, it's
mhm,
not for awards or medals, you know, a trophy or money. But in the end, you're still at an unfair advantage. And
mhm,
lately, I was going to say this for last, but I'll just say it. So the arguments that I get into, I've read all the research, I've read the science, I know the numbers, I know the tests, and I know who performs the test dictates the outcome, right? So if it's a liberal college
mhm,
performing the test, or even the woke Air Force is the most, I'd say that test was from 2015, 2017.
mhm,
And that one was the one I've talked about it on Instagram. The things they tested on don't really apply to real world sports, like not hockey, not
mhm,
cycling. The things they tested on, it's just nonsense. And you can skew the results of a test however you want to say, oh, look,
mhm,
the trans athlete didn't do as well. And an elite female did better than this trans athlete. Well, this trans athlete was someone who was sitting on the couch 3 weeks ago.
yeah.
They weren't a lifelong athlete. So me being a lifelong athlete, I've done tests here in my neighborhood locally with a professional girl who runs professionally, and I don't run. I mean, I run for cardio, but
Mhm.
she runs in competition. I ran a quarter of a mile down the street in front of our house. We recorded it on Strava. I ran as fast as I could. She ran as fast as she could. I'm 49, she's 31, and I still beat her time. A 49-year-old guy on hormones with zero testosterone in my system, and I still beat a 31-year-old track athlete. Like,
That's the
if
other
that
thing with
doesn't
the
say,
total, like, just denial. Another thing I realized is that people, I think this happens, and it happened to me a little bit because my background is like I played in a punk band and was very like far left, like blow everything up and start over, that
oh
whole
yeah,
thing. And
revolution.
yes, and that was very much my community, not that I didn't ever question things, but like I feel like I got so wrapped up in that my ability to think critically almost atrophied. So anytime someone had a criticism, it just felt like a threat that had to be shut down. And I realized, like, once I actually did start doing more independent research on my own, I was just like, oh, okay, like I was just lied to, and like so much of what I believed and was told, like it's important, like as a feminist, it's important to acknowledge the very real differences between males and females. And it's like, with the prison thing, like part of the huge issue there is like women are at a very specific risk because we can become pregnant. And that's such a huge uh, thing to happen. And I'm going to jump around. I warned you I'm ADHD, but
Yeah, no,
other
the
people
prison,
maybe
it's
know.
happening. Girls are getting knocked up in prison all the time. It's
Yeah, I saw two
disgusting.
women were impregnated by the same inmate, and like people were rationalizing, being like, "Oh, well, it was consensual," and it's like you can't really fully be consensual in that environment. And then think about this child who's going to be ripped out of its mother's arms at birth and separated. This has a ripple effect of many lives ruined. So these choices that seem innocuous, and like my general view used to be like, whether it's sports or prisons or whatever, I was like, the trans population is so small that it just doesn't even matter, was kind of like my MO. And then now we see the rates of the trans population growing and spiking for a multitude of reasons, which I'm actually kind of curious if you have any theories on why that might be.
Yeah, it's 100% this device right here. So yeah, social contagion. I get in arguments about that all the time
People
with
get really
people.
triggered by that term, I know.
Yeah, it just, yeah, what is it? I think the latest number was it's gone down a little, 300% increase worldwide in trans identified youth. Well, the reason we didn't identify as trans when we were youth is because we just didn't have the internet. We didn't know all
Yeah.
that was out there. So I can't tell you how many what is it, Twitter or TikToks I read that say, I thought something was wrong, and then I went online and I found a bunch of people who feel like me,
Yeah.
and now I guess I'm trans. It's like, no, that doesn't make you trans. Like,
Especially with young women. And that also concerns me because as a woman, there's already like incentives to not want to be a woman. So if you see like a young girl is going through puberty and have, and maybe they're gay or they have autism and all these other comorbidities, it seems like they settle in on the trans thing because it's like, all right, here's a set path, I transition and then I will be okay. And like we have all these people feeding into that narrative and actively shutting down anyone who pushes against that narrative. And it's just kind of ballooned like um, with the general rates of like women transitioning. And then that gets into the whole like one of the things I wanted to talk to you about the sports was because I just don't even know where I draw the line because no option feels right to me. It doesn't feel right to like not let trans women play with women. That's my like empathy being hacked or whatever. But
that's your woman
no,
inside.
I know. There's no feel good option here. Is what I'm trying to get at. So it's like
um,
unless or like in regards to like including everyone because we have to in order to have categories we have to exclude at a certain point.
hmm. Okay, so I'll play devil's advocate for you on your side
I love it.
against me. This goes against what I'm about. But so I said a while ago, about 2 years ago, I was doing some videos, and I said that, and I kind of believe this. I don't want to upset any of my actual female supporters that are genuine women
Mhm.
who know I support and protect them. But there could have been a happy medium, or as you said, an easy way or an equitable way to get this done. had it been done properly. And it didn't, they didn't start properly. You know, if we can bring these children up, and again, I'm against children transitioning, but if there are some trans kids out there and we can find that out early enough, we can start them on the cross-sex hormones. A kid around the age of puberty, a boy, we'll just use boy for example, boy to girl, if we start them on the cross-sex hormones early enough, they will never develop the muscle structure that I did. They will never develop the muscle structure that Laurel Hubbard and Amy and all these trans athletes who are taking awards, Leah Thompson, they're built from puberty on up as a boy, and testosterone is so strong. We know this drug is huge. So what my point is, and I hate to jump off, but had we done it gradually, let the trans inclusion become a gradual thing and let them work up through the ranks, and then by the time I'm long gone, these teenagers now who had been on cross-sex hormones since they were 12 or 14 would be super biologically close to a woman. I mean, they still have a bigger bone structure, a little bit bigger heart, lungs, stuff like that. The internals would be there, but I'm telling you, to not have testosterone in your system and grow that way would put you really close to a biological woman. And then we could have talked, we could actually be inclusive. But no, we had 33-year-old athletes, 26-year-old athletes jumping in the professional elite women's division, nabbing trophies. They're still doing it right this minute in USA Cycling. You know, USA Cycling or USCI has banned it, but USA still allows it. World Aquatics has banned it, so all swimming. And NCAA still allows it. So there's I don't want to say millions, but there's tons of girls losing out on college scholarships because of the NCAA. So again, had they started gradually and pussy-footed their way in,
right?
We could have that inclusion. It could have been something we could all enjoy. Oh, this is a trans woman and she's been on hormones and she got fifth or she got third and she won. It would be really hard for someone who was raised on the opposite hormones to actually compete and win at an elite level. I wouldn't see it happening too much. So I hate saying that because I don't want to give them any ammunition.
That sounds compelling to me, because my general beef is it's like the line for me is probably like male puberty. I don't really care about mixed, because even little kids, they play soccer together, mixed sex, and it's really, you don't see those huge changes until puberty. But then it does put us in a bind, like, with the puberty blockers things, that's a whole other can of worms. But if there were a way, and at the rate of research and like science, like things, it's constantly changing exponentially in our understanding. Like, so hypothetically, if we could find like the trans gene in someone's head and like know for sure, that's when I would be able to get down with like puberty blockers and like going that route. If because obviously that's an ideal situation for someone who's truly authentically trans, like that is, but without the info, it's just so the standard of diagnostics right now, I'm not even sure what the standard is, honestly.
Yeah,
it just seems like affirm only, and maybe I'm
that's a little extreme on that part, but there are ways. I mean, there's so many loopholes when you're in this community. As long as I've been in this community, like, I hate saying this out loud to you, I've said it before, but I can get you a doctor's note right now. I can go to a unknown psychiatrist or psychologist and get you a note that says, yes, this patient has been with me for 2 years. They are experiencing gender dysphoria. Here's their letter of recommendation for prescription for HRT. Like, there's ways around the system. There's the black market, black web. Like, there is things that can be done, but we obviously don't want anybody doing that. But again, and to touch on what you just said, like, puberty blockers are literally from the devil. Like, that is wrong. You either, in my opinion, you either start them on the hormones they want, or you leave them alone until they just make that decision. But do not use puberty blockers. Do not. It's going to cause so much comorbidity as they mature into my age group. They won't even be able to enjoy a healthy life because of the puberty blockers. Now,
or orgasm, or like any like the stuff with like Jazz Jennings and like her like complications, and like it's sad that like someone should have the full information to like make an educated choice, and it feels like there is like a kind of cover up of anything that doesn't support the affirmation, like only way of doing things.
There isn't, and there isn't enough research on adults that were started on puberty blockers and then said, you know, I get sick. I just saw 2 more videos on TikTok that were like, oh, puberty blockers are 100% reversible. No, they are not. You lose that time. Like, you lost those 2 years or those 6 months of heart development, brain function, muscle growth, tendons, ligaments. Everything is paused, but your body is still aging. But your internal organs are going,
Yeah.
you know. So, oh my God. So, like I said, I don't agree with starting children on HRT, but if they're going to do it, just do it. Go for it. Do it all the way. So, my answer to that being that I don't support kids is a social transition is fine. Kids do it all the time. They can socially transition until they're of 18, 19, 20. Some people say 26 because that's when your brain's done growing.
Yeah.
Even at 26, I was still weird, you know?
I know. I mean, my frontal lobe didn't really finish developing until like very recently. So, you know, everyone matures at a different rate. So it is hard because you can never really totally avoid potentially making a mistake, but your odds are so much better if we just wait until 18, you know. But I do understand it's traumatic for a trans person to go through a puberty that they don't identify with. So I have sympathy for it. But what we're offering instead of that is causing, yeah, irreparable harm. We've been finely tuned over millions of years of evolution to have this like crazy, you know, biology, and puberty is such an important part of maturing as an adult. There's no pause button. There is no pause button for that, you know. We have
There really
like
isn't.
Lupron or whatever that was also given to like, you know, sex offenders, and it's just being used entirely off label. And it's just crazy that this is the reality that we're in, and that it has gotten so psycho in the West and you know, around Europe or wherever.
Yeah, and to reconfirm what you said earlier about like the not being able to reproduce or have an orgasm. So when a female starts on testosterone early enough, she will probably have to have, it's almost like a natural hysterectomy. Literally, testosterone makes you barren, so you're done. And for a guy to go to a girl, when the drugs I take make me almost useless. Well, pretty much useless. I can't achieve an orgasm. I can barely achieve an erection. That's like almost off the table.
Yeah.
So you lose that. And I know Blair White was one who transitioned at, you know, 19 or so, and nobody told her to freeze her sperm because now she wants kids and she can only hope that they're still active. She's been on the drugs so long, like for me, 9 years now. You don't know. And puberty blockers is even worse. But like I said, for a girl, and not just puberty blockers, but just cross-sex hormones will destroy your reproductive system, which, as I just had a debate with Andrew Wilson from the Whatever podcast, and I totally got killed in that debate. I didn't look at it as a debate. He just wanted to let me know that I'm being, what did he say? A degenerate human, hedonistic. That's my lifestyle, is a hedonistic person, because we can't procreate. Like, the trans community, our civilization ends here. Like,
Yeah.
there's no more unless we are smart about this, freezing sperm, freezing ovaries, freezing eggs, not ovaries, I know, but freezing these things, and then they can become parents later, whether it's through a surrogate mom that delivers, and you know, or a donator on the sperm side. But we're not thinking things through. We're just like, let's go do this, you know, 300%
Yeah.
social contagion. Everybody on Reddit says I should do this because I feel a certain way when I put a bra on. Like,
It's
of course
very
it's
much
a social
rushing
contagion.
into it. And I feel like the movement is being led by people who are like just also just very young and inexperienced, because they're just like yelling the loudest. They have no conception of, first off, how long life keeps going. You know, you're not just like cute, young, fun, social life is the most important thing. Like, your life changes so much just into like your 30s, you know? Like, and I didn't even think that I wanted kids. And I think I partially blame like the broader cultural attitudes towards motherhood that made me think it wasn't a cool thing to do, you know. And now I'm turning 34 tomorrow, is my birthday. And but I only have like you know, a couple of years if it's gonna happen, you know. and
Yeah.
and now I'm grappling with that choice, and I didn't do any like, well, I probably did permanent damage, but like I, you know, never did any hormonal interventions or anything like that, so I wouldn't, you know. But it's just, these are such huge, profound life choices to put on a child. It's absolutely mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, and to tell a 15-year-old, you better freeze your eggs or you're never
They
gonna
don't
have
know what
kids.
that.
They, they could care less. In the moment, they don't care.
Not at
All they
all.
care
I know
about,
I didn't know I didn't care
yeah.
about anything at that, like, anything. I had no conception of a future beyond 2 minutes in front of me, you
Yeah,
know?
when I was 18, I swore I was gonna be single for the rest of my life, you know? And then at 21 or whatever, I end up married, have a kid. Like I did right out of high school, I joined the workforce because, and I hate to say social contagion, but society, not social, but society, we didn't even have cell phones and pagers when I graduated high school. I barely got a pager. And but I saw what society was supposed to be. The nuclear family is what I was told to do, which is, you know,
Mhm.
white picket fence, 2-car garage, 1.3 kids, 1.6 animals, you know, the
Yeah.
national average. So I just did that because I literally said to myself, I remember this one day in the mirror, it's like, this is not the life I want,
Mhm.
but I'm not getting any, at the time, boy mode. I'm not getting any handsomer.
Mhm.
I found a girl who's in love with me. She wants a child. Let's do it. And
Yeah.
I was going forward with that, the American dream, you know, and that's what I did. So to combat the hedonistic, immoral argument of being trans or gay, I did my part. And the younger gen of trans looks down on me for doing my part. Like, oh, you had a kid and you were married. There's no way you're trans. You're not real. You never had gender dysphoria. No, I did the whole time. I knew. Even
Yeah.
my mom knew when I was 8. She was like, "Yeah, you were always interested in, you know, um, your friend's mom's purses and clothes."
Mhm.
And yeah, I know that's a stupid excuse, but you know, I was genuinely interested in that, and
Well, combined
I
with
showed.
other symptoms, that's a very common experience for trans people is to know when they're young, even if they can't identify it. And it's like that's why the internet's so great because you can connect with communities, but you know, it's just been totally gone haywire. Especially I noticed we mentioned TikTok and like the TikTok algorithm is the most concentrated like hit of social media that like is so fine tuned to like they're definitely listening to us right now. I'm probably gonna get like you know who knows what's gonna pop up on my TikTok, but like
Oh, good.
the younger kids don't have a chance. They don't have a chance, you know, and a
That
lot
but
of
screen time is horrible time. So
it's
um,
it's really
I
depressing.
I hear about parents raising their kids these days with no screens, and I think that's great. Like if
Mhm.
because now there's literally a generation, or not generation, but there's literally a thing called iPad kids now,
Yeah.
and like really iPad kids like the, and I see it, you know, like I drive Uber for a living, so I get some parents with a noisy kid in the back and literally hand them their phone. Here,
Yeah.
watch video. And that keeps the kid quiet, shuts them up, and parents can be lazy. So they say Gen Z is parent or children of maybe Gen X, but millennials are my kids. So
Mhm.
um, I think Gen X got lazy, and some of the older millennials are super lazy with their
Yeah.
kids and just hand them an iPad. And you know, we did this to ourselves. You know,
Right.
we created technology and we created this, oh look, I can take these hormones and voila, I can look like a girl. You know, if they take them young enough, they really can. For me, it's been thousands of dollars of surgery and I still look like a dude. So
I mean,
what?
wouldn't even say that, not just to be nice, but I think you look great, and it's but obviously everyone's their own worst. Like, I look at myself and I'm like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I look bloated and old," and, you know, everyone just sees what they or maybe not
you're
everyone, some people
you
might
don't
not
look
look
old,
it,
stop
but
it. But yeah, I mean, I got the sports shoulders, the guy shoulders, I have man hands, like the face is a mess, but you know, my voice is terrible. Everybody hates my voice. I get so much shit for it. And you know,
you
on
must
a
get
day-to-day
dragged a lot because just being someone who, like, goes against the narrative, I can only imagine the amount of bullshit you get from people online, so
yeah, it's pretty comical. Luckily, I'm old enough to where that shit don't bother me. But you know,
mhm,
like even at work, everybody calls me bro and dude. You know, my customers, they're in and out of my car, and some of the girls, I think they're just being nice, but they'll get in my car and they're like, you know, I'll say, okay, you guys are going to the Bellagio or whatever, and they're like, holy shit, you're a guy, and I was like, yeah, and they're like, well, we thought you were a girl until you said something. It's your voice ruins it, and I'm like, I know.
are you people say that to you? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and crazy Uber stories, like I got millions of them, but like
That is like,
people.
wow, way to have, like, no tact as a human being,
Girl,
like
that's nothing. Like I've had strangers ask me if I've had the surgery, and I tell other customers that, and they're like, "A total stranger asks you if you've had sexual reassignment surgery." I'm like, "Yeah, they do it all the time." Because when people see me, they want to know. You know, they're just and their morbid curiosity overrides their intellect and their social norm of tactfulness. So it's freaking crazy what people in society, and I'm in Las Vegas, so there's a lot of people that travel from Kansas, Oklahoma, and I hate to use the Bible Belt, but you know.
I was gonna say, I was like wondering where you were located because I'm in such a like super liberal bubble area that
Oh
like,
yeah,
you know, I feel like it's a different dynamic, but yeah, in Vegas you
Las
get
Vegas, yeah,
everyone.
yeah, Las Vegas is about 50-50 as far as liberal conservatives, I guess. Just so many people move here from LA, California. It's becoming liberal every day, but so you know, a lot of conservatives come here and they're just like looking at me like, what the is that? Like, holy shit, like
I'm
this
like,
is Vegas. Oh
yeah,
yeah, and I'm like, you came to my city. Like, what did you think?
I
Like, I
know,
live
back
here,
off,
you know.
yeah.
There's way weirder people than me in Las Vegas, but yeah, so you know, the kids, and then just how do we educate people, and you know, but what I wanted to ask you as,
Sure.
so when I'm fighting my fight to protect women's sports spaces to prisons, like you said, that's important to me as well. I've run across several feminists, like hardcore feminists, and I am on the turf list, the official uh, Twitter X turf list. I am
There's,
like number.
oh no, I'm scared to even look. I don't think I'm relevant enough
I
to
have
any of this,
proof.
but like,
I
oh
have
my
it.
goodness.
I have it screenshotted. I'm like number 2,900, whatever. Because I am a trans exclusionary. I'm not a radical feminist, but I don't believe trans should be included in everything just because I'm trans.
Yeah, right.
Um, but so where's I going with this? So feminists will tell me to shut up. Like, don't speak for me. Like, don't speak on women's behalf. You're not a woman. You never will be. Shut your mouth. Like, I've gotten in some pretty heated 3-day long arguments with
Mhm.
radical feminists that just won't hear anything I have to say, even if it's in their defense, because I'm a
They're like
man.
the
So
SJWs, the woke scold. It's the same flavor of person, just manifesting differently, in my opinion. Because I've had like my little spars with like some feminists, like that girl I was talking about earlier, who's like blowing up on me, like, and there's just such a like viciousness and like anger, and there is like a lot of hatred. Like there are genuinely people who are actually what people think of a turf. Like that does exist. Like feminists who do hate trans people. Like the people are accused of being turfs and they're not, like probably like 98% of the time, but the 2% of the time there are like people who I personally want nothing to do with who actually do, in my opinion, have like a lot of hatred that's guiding their actions more so, and maybe an overprotectiveness too. Like they're so afraid of being infiltrated that there's all these like debates about like having a pet troon was like trending on Twitter, of what they call it when like feminists like associate with trans people, and it's just like, see, that doesn't
I,
represent me at all. And I'm
I'm
like
so old. I don't even know what true means.
it's just like a like like instead of tran, like troon, I guess it's just like being silly or something, I don't know, but
Yeah, I
there
don't even
there's a
know.
lot of
But
toxic tone policing and just policing others' views, policing who people are talking to, and I just don't relate to any of that. And especially when someone like you has such a valuable perspective as an athlete, a trans woman, and an advocate for women's spaces, like that is so important to this conversation because there's a lot of people who will maybe listen to you more because you have that experience and you aren't just being guided out of like a hatred of trans people. Obviously, that'd be so ridiculous. Even though I'm sure you still get accused of hating trans people. Like, you
yeah,
know,
yeah, I get called transphobe, a bigot all the time. So, but yeah, like I've been to feminist meetings and women's support marches, and I've donated to, you know, protecting women's sports through Icons for Women. I've met several of the athletes that are fighting that fight. Nancy, Riley Gaines is a good friend of mine. You know, had birthday dinner with her and her husband out here.
oh,
Yeah, I
cute.
took them out. I took them to the Hell's Kitchen for Gordon Ramsay because her
Oh,
husband's
nice.
actually, he's British. He's from the UK, so he always wanted to see the Gordon Ramsay experience. So I took them there for his birthday, and you
Oh,
know, but they most of those are some pretty hardcore feminists, and some of them I can tell they don't warm up to me necessarily in person. They're still like cordial,
mhm.
but they're not like, oh my god, Jess, like, hey, huggy,
Yeah.
you know, like me and Riley are like, what's up, selfies, and you know, but and Paula, like I'm friends with her too, April Hutchinson, like they're all wonderful girls, so they appreciate it. And I do wish to sorry to keep harping on that, but I do wish that more people would listen to a trans voice of reason. That's what I'm going for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I like to consider myself, not a TERF, but a trans
Mm-hmm.
voice of reason. I don't believe now, because like I said, if we'd started lightly and
Mm-hmm.
gradually progress into society, things would be a lot more acceptable. The society would accept us a lot more had we just taken the baby steps to
Mm-hmm.
get to where they're trying to be right now. And so we rushed in and it can ruined it for everybody involved. And so now I am an exclusionary where, you know what, you guys pushed too hard, women said no, that's it, it's over. And to go one more thing on back to what we said on the testing and the inclusion part on the sports, I'm so tired of debating the numbers that I've literally given up on that argument, because I know all the numbers, I know all the
Mm-hmm.
science, done the tests. But anyway, I just have been resorting to why not let girls have their spaces and their sports? Why just let them, leave them alone, literally just
Mm-hmm.
leave them alone. That's all I'm asking. Please, just, you'll still be a valid trans person. I don't care who doesn't think I'm valid. Like all the Gen Xer trans think I'm just AGP adult, whatever. Like I don't give a shit what they think. They're
Yeah.
not part of my life, and I can
That's
literally
the beauty
just
of getting older, is just caring like
walk
less and
away.
less, you
Yeah.
know?
If people are being misgendering me or rude to me, I just about face and leave. Like I don't have to say anything. I can just walk away and not be triggered. And yeah, it might upset me, but what do I care? 49 years old. I got way more, trying to live what's left of my life
Mm-hmm.
before I die, just and trying to enjoy it. Like that's not that hard to do, and you don't need to be with women to do it. Like
It seems
let's
like
be
they
this
won't, like they took the like
I'm getting
I
so worked
remember
up.
I remember when they started, when everyone was saying like trans women are women, and like I always viewed that as like a social affirmation, and like trans women should be treated like women in most situations. And I feel like a certain segment took that to be just like literal. And if there's any situation that a cis woman can be in that a trans woman can't, that's like a rejection of who they are, you know? And it's like we just have to sit down and be honest and be like, there's differences between trans women and cis women that are important in very specific situations, not most, not in any day-to-day situation for the most part, but like in these very specific scenarios, it's very important to me to like retain those boundaries so that if I do have a daughter someday, she can still have a sport to engage in that we didn't let crumble because we took away all these categories under the false guise of like promoting equality, when women will never be equal to men in sports. That will never ever happen. And you can't, by abolishing that category, you're abolishing women's opportunities entirely in that arena. And it's so
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah, it is sad. And I hate to, all I do is beat the dead horse. Literally, that's all I do. It's constant, like spaces, sports, spaces, sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, like, on the Jubilee debate that you brought up, like, Blair tried to bring up some nuanced topics about the bathroom issue. And
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about it on other podcasts that for prisons and bathrooms, if there has been a trans person who has had SRS, sexual reassignment surgery, they, and see, I get called out on this too. Like I get called out on the trans side, and I get called out on the feminist side. Like
Same.
if I'd had surgery and the hormones I'm on, like I literally could not sexually assault a woman with my private parts. Now I could do with these, but that woman's probably 98% more safe because I've had surgery. Like I don't have any sex drive as
Yeah.
a trans person on hormones. I literally don't want to have sex with anybody. Like I'm not asexual, but there's no sex drive in my system. It's zero.
Yeah.
And a girl who's had or a trans woman who's had the reassignment surgery, they don't have any sex drive either. They have no gonads. Their testosterone is gone. So those people maybe could be in the bathroom and not cause any harm. And there's millions of trans that would never lay a finger on a woman. I get it, but it's the bad people taking advantage of putting on a wig and makeup and saying, "Oh, I'm a girl," and we have to validate me. And so that's again where we should have taken baby steps to say, hey, these are the nuances. If you've been on hormones for 2 years or you've had the surgery, we'll include you as a woman's category for prison or bathroom. But no, they just pushed their way in, rushed into it, said, oh, we're women. Doesn't matter if I'm on drugs or had surgery. Here I am, accept me. Now it's nope. Now I'm like exclusion for everything. Like you guys fucking ruined it. You ruined it.
You ruined it for all of us.
Baby steps, and you might have had a shot at it. Like the future, not us, not me, not my generation, but the future generations coming up would have had an easier path to success of blending in than they do now. Now it's going to be a fight uphill all the way for all these trans youth coming up to be inclusive and to be or included in society as a woman. Like they're never gonna. It's going to be a constant battle. But like I said, if they taken the time and let it develop naturally and let people get used to the fact that, hey, this person's been on hormones, this person's been in surgery, they're probably not a threat. There's still that capable that, you know, I could physically overpower most women. A friend of mine, Courtney Olson, woman, she could whoop my ass. Like, you know, there are outliers, and those are the arguments that you hear when NCAA is talking about, well, there's women bench pressing more than guys. It's like, yeah, those are outliers. Those are the Shaquille O'Neal, the Michael Jordan, the Michael Phelps. Like, there's one in every sport, maybe 5 in every sport, but they're outliers. That's not the norm. It's not the average. And again, it's never going to be an equal ground playing field. Like I said, if hormones were started early enough, it could be close, but never that even. Never.
I mean, I have some hope that, like, I think that everyone from good intentions was like eager to like include trans people, and then good intentions got like hijacked a bit. But I do feel a little bit like maybe the pendulum is swinging in some regards towards normalcy. Like, you know, like Leah Thomas ended up getting banned. Now she's suing or whatever. We'll see how that goes. You know, I literally have no idea how that's gonna work out. You'd think that like these institutions would like be able to affirm what a woman is, because it does matter in some contexts. Like, but you're seeing like actual government institutions act like they don't know what that word means. And that's pretty wild to me. And like with prisons, I think about that and it's like, yeah, I guess it doesn't feel right to put like a trans woman in like a male prison either, because it's like, especially if they had surgeries, they are at like a higher risk. But if they can still impregnate a woman, you know, so it's like, yeah, I guess maybe if they had bottom surgery, but then with bottom surgery, there's so many complications that I almost don't want to like make it seem like that's the only pathway to be like a real woman, you know? Like,
so here's how extreme I am. So this is how extreme I am. Like I get a lot of hate. I will get a lot of hate for this. I've never said this out loud, but so the problem with the prisons is, like you just said, the women are getting impregnated. So if that person gets busted and they all automatically are going to jail and I'm trans, and then they can get put on hormones or whatever. They weren't trans to begin with because they got a woman pregnant. Now it would be, like I said, I've been on hormones for so long. Do you know how hard it would be for me to get a girl pregnant? Like nearly impossible. So I'm such an exclusionary that I want to protect women so bad that I would say, as a judge, I'll be like, okay, here's your choice. You want to go to the women's prison? Sign you up for the sex change operation, and now you're in the women's prison. That's the only way you're getting near the women. Otherwise, you're going to keep your genitals. You're going to go in. The guys will keep you in, not in Gen Pop. Will keep you, you know, secluded. They have ways. But I mean, there's always communal parts, like the communal part of eating and showering, like in prison. So you're right. A person like me would be so beat up and raped in a male prison. But how about this? Don't break the law. It's just that simple. But you know,
some good advice.
It happens. I get it. I get it. People make bad choices, and you can't stop it. Like it's just gonna happen. So,
I mean, and that speaks on like our prison system. Like nobody should be getting raped in an American prison. The fact that it even happens to that extent is like, how do we have no way of stopping that? You know, there's got to be.
It's crazy.
But our prison population, we have just so many.
I don't ever go to prison. That's not what keeps me from doing illegal shit. Like, I just don't do legal shit because it's not right. Like, I'm gonna steal from people. I'm not gonna forge a plates or forge an ID or steal an ID. Like, that's stupid. But wouldn't that deter people enough? Like, hey, you're gonna get gang raped, you know, for 5 years. Do you really want to commit this crime? Like, but
no one thinks you're gonna get caught. Everyone, you know, everyone is stupid. Everyone is stupid, unfortunately.
Yeah, there is that. People think that they're gonna get away with it. They watch too many movies. Like, oh, they got.
Literally. Well, and I guess a lot of criminals do get away. Like I've committed many crimes in my past, unfortunately. nothing ever like violent towards anyone, but I used to like shoplift a lot and do like graffiti and just
Mhm.
anything, just be like a bad girl or whatever. So I've been arrested a couple times, but I've never like gone in for more than like a night. But it was a terrifying experience. Just being behind bars at all is a very scary kind of reality check.
Well, in my opinion, it's kind of a learning experience, and it's not a
Yeah,
bad one. You learned, now you know what the other side looks like. Dabbed your foot in the water, and
yeah,
not going to go there again, whatever. But it's tough, So
it really is. Oh, actually, I was curious. Did you like what has been your goal lately? I saw how long have you been doing like your YouTube channel? I was so excited I found it because I saw you on Jubilee and I was like, I want to see what else this person has to say, 'cause it's a good jumping off point, and I like some of your videos. Um,
yeah,
but I didn't see when you started it. Was that a recent thing you did after the Jubilee episode, or
I had a YouTube channel. I was only doing Instagram videos prior to Jubilee, which is how Jubilee found me. Most people, you have to apply to be in a Jubilee video. You have to fill out some paperwork and do interviews. They reached out to me because I'm so vocal as a trans on the right, conservative, whatever. Um, and so they reached out to me and said, "We'd like to have you on our panel." They didn't tell me it was going to be with Blair White and Sarah, who are two really good friends of mine, and just awesome people. And
yeah?
they're on, the sane side of the trans community, I like to say.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
liked Sarah too. Made some great points, and I thought Blair, made great points. I used to hate her
yeah,
way. I used to think that she was like, well, she was always held a confusing spot in my mind because I didn't necessarily think she was transphobic, but I was like, she's working against her own interests, and I had this like idea of her. But after now watching like so much of her content and actually enjoying her content and realizing she's actually a very nuanced, reasonable person, like her
yes.
ideas aren't that crazy, like really.
No, she's really smart. She knows how to lay it out. And unfortunately, the whole episode ended up just being her and Blossom arguing back and forth.
Oh my gosh, that was yeah.
So yeah, to touch on like what you asked originally. So I didn't start doing YouTube videos until after. I was gonna use the Jubilee video as a jumping off platform and go full-time YouTube and try and monetize and really fight for women's sports, but I kind of failed at it. I bought a lot of computer equipment. I bought some of the stuff like microphones and whatnot, but I find it hard to dedicate time,
Mm,
and um, I'm still trying to live my life a little bit. I want to
mhm.
enjoy, like I feel so bad for Briley Gaines. Like she sacrificed her entire life, and people knock her because they're saying that she's making tons of money for these showings. And yeah, she probably is getting paid to show up and speak at these events and go, on Fox News and
Mhm.
stuff like that. But still, I've known Riley and I've talked to her on a personal level. Aside from this, she was literally going to dental school and she just wanted to go be a dental assistant first. But that's gone. Like her whole life career now is fighting against people like me, not like me, but
Right.
the trans community. So, um, yeah, I wished I would have taken advantage of the Jubilee because I had a section. I didn't know, I didn't even see it until later. One of my friends messaged me like, "You got a TikTok video that's got over 1 million views." I went viral on TikTok.
What? Oh my
Yeah, I was
god.
like, bro, you got to get in, and take advantage. Like, get on TikTok. And I started to, and I was like, this is for kids. I'm not doing TikTok. Like, I can't do
That's how
it.
I feel sometimes, but
Yeah.
it's for all ages, there's no age limit, but it's so hard to like make content, put yourself out there, especially when you're getting chewed out from every angle. You don't even have a team. That's how
Mhm.
I've been feeling lately because I'm just started up. I made my channel like years ago, and then I had like a long relapse. So I abandoned my channel for a couple of years and just came back a couple months ago, and have just been, kind of seeing what's out there, seeing what the temperature's like on these conversations, and everything is so much crazier than I remember it being a couple years ago, even that I'm just like, all right, but it's hard, and it's just like
Yeah.
when you're getting it from every angle. Actually, I was going to ask you too, since you're conservative, do you generally feel like more accepted by conservatives, or do you feel more accepted by people who are like liberal, or neither, or
I
both?
like to I like to say neither just because I want to be the rebel, like the loner. Like I like that. And maybe that's why it's so easy for me to say,
Mm,
take your trans shit and go. Like stop trying to be included in everything. The women don't want you here. Okay. So maybe it's easy for me to say that just because I have always been on my own and I'm okay with it. But yeah,
mhm.
I mean, there are conservatives who think I'm the degenerate, hedonistic scum of the earth. Like, and that doesn't even like great. That's cool.
Yeah.
Everybody should have a disagreement. I hate to use a conservative quote, but there's a popular online guy. He says, the minute we stop talking, that's when the violence starts, you know?
That's true.
Tell me you don't like me, and I will leave this situation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, tell me you have a problem with the way I look or my existence. Okay, no problem. Let's part ways, and then there's no issues. You know, we can both exist without interfering in each other's lives. So why not? You know, and why not have that discourse, and why not have that you can have that uncomfortable conversation with them if you want, but
Mm-hmm.
I usually choose not to, unless it's involving sports and protecting women.
Mm-hmm.
I will gladly jump in on that conversation. Anybody wants to. So, but if they want to talk about why, you know, I shouldn't exist or why I think they should exist, like, who cares? Go away. Just live your life. Live and let live.
Yeah.
That whole thing. You know, I hate to be so cliche on the live and
Well,
let live thing,
a
but
lot of cliches that, like, the older I get, the more I'm like, certain cliches about life are, you know, end up
they
kind of being
work.
true, and like these cliches and like certain wisdom, like it comes back to you and you're like, oh, actually that makes sense now, you know. But I imagine like the life path that you've had, you have to like, you know, find inner strength in yourself, you know. I can only imagine, I don't know when you transition, but you know, it's definitely used to actually literally be a more transphobic society. And it seems like it's gotten better in some ways, but did you think it like, do you feel like safer like now, or did you feel like there was a better time in the past, or like for like existing as a trans person? I'm just curious.
I do think I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to say that I do get a lot of people that reach out to me, and they've always reached out to me, even back when I was in my like late 30s when I was starting this whole process. Um, People would reach out to me, and I've never been the kind of person that is afraid. So
Mm-hmm.
I lived in a very conservative town, and I had an even more conservative town right next to the town I lived in where I grew up. So my trans friends in that town would be like, "You better not go to um, Castle Rock. They're gonna skin you alive down there." And I was like, "Why? I'll go to the Castle Rock if I want. Like, it's
Yeah.
from, you know, it's free country." So, but they always ask, like, "Is this?" People message me all the time, like, "I'm coming to Vegas. What's a trans friendly restaurant? Where's a trans friendly bar?" And if you're gonna be transgender or transsexual, there's no such thing as trans friendly. That word is not in your vocabulary. That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work. So this is me advocating for trans people, which
Mm-hmm.
I hardly ever do. But you can't be trans and worry about who's going to accept you.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to live your life and try not to impose on other people. That's what your job is to do as a societal, a contributing member of society, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there were times like I was, you know, maybe I did go to Castle Rock because there's an outlet mall there, and you know, I was like, "Ooh," you know, just looks and stares, and people
Mm-hmm.
just like, "The fuck," you know, who is this? Like that, you know, angry, and but yeah, it might bother me a little. It bothered me when I was younger, but you know, I just was like, I kept my head down, look straight ahead. I'm making eye contact. Now I walk through Vegas. If people stare at me, I stare right back, or I'll
Yeah.
wave like, "Hi, do you want to take a picture?" You know. Unfortunately, there is a drag queen who works on the strip who looks just like me. Like literally
No.
looks. We look
She
like
biting
twins.
your style?
Yeah, I think she is.
The
But
heck?
I have people on the strip randomly just come up to me and go, "Oh my god, I saw you perform at, you know, Jose O'Shea's. Like, you were amazing. You're so beautiful." I'm like, "No, it's not me. That's my twin sister. She's a drag queen.
Oh
Like,
my
she's
gosh.
a boy during the day, and just does drag at night. And but she has my facial features, my hair, everything. Like, we are identical." When I've been doing Uber for 3 years, and people still to this day come up to me all the time and confuse me with her and her with me all the time. It's crazy.
Really?
But yeah, as far as being scared, yeah, I never was, and I called somebody out on Twitter just yesterday. I was like, "What is this? I'm in the closet. Like, I'm trans, but I'm in the closet. I'm in two closets." So I said, "What are you talking about? Are you talking in real life, or are you talking on social media? Because there's no reason to be in the closet on social media. And there's no reason to be in the closet in real life. Like, if you're trans, you're not." I've never got my head around that. Also, like, how are you afraid to be you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would you not want to be yourself? You know, I want to be myself everywhere as much as I can. I want to go out and do things. I want to go experience life. Um, and I'm not afraid to go do it, just because there might be some people who are uncomfortable around me. Now, if I'm making people uncomfortable for a reason, I don't want to be there either. I'm not going to try and be like, "Oh, I want to do this just because it makes everybody uncomfortable." I used to have that mentality as a youngster. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
me being me in this mall drives them crazy, so I'm gonna go there every day. You know,
Right,
I
right.
have
You have that like
I have
defiance.
that.
You want to stir the pot, and
Yeah, like when you were in your band, I was in a
yeah.
band too. I was a drummer though, so not a
Oh,
guitarist.
I did drums too. I know instrument very well, but like this
Yeah,
one too. And
that's awesome. Yeah, I played in a metal band drummer for 6 years, I think.
oh no way, that's so
Yeah,
cool.
originals though, so nobody ever showed up because nobody listens to original music. They don't know the words.
Yeah,
So,
no, I mean I played shows. I've never played any big shows, but I played shows for like two people before, and
oh,
empty
that's cool.
bars,
Doesn't
all that.
matter. You still get the music out. That's awesome. So yeah,
Yeah,
like I had
super
that
cool.
rebellious side in me that wanted to upset the norm and upset society and be different. But you get older, you grow out of it, just like the
Yeah.
trans thing. Like these kids will probably grow out of this and regret the shit that they're doing.
Right? I
My
I hope I hope so. I think I don't know.
But will
I
it be too late? Like, will they have already done
yeah.
all the damage with the drugs and the
Uh,
surgeries? Like, I have a hard time understanding how a woman would ever want to be a man. In the same circles that women look at me and they go, "Are you crazy? Why would you want to be a girl?" And I'm like, "Because you guys are awesome." And I assume girls that want to be guys have that same mentality, but they
mhm,
don't. They tell me their mentality is like, I don't want to be sexually objectified. No, fuck,
mhm.
I'm a guy. I don't get that. I'm like, well, you're ruining your life, and there's no reason to be a dude. Like I've seen a lot of videos, and I noticed most of the detransitioners are females that went to boys, and now they regret it. Like
Yeah,
you
it
get
seems
a
like
lot less people.
70% are female to male detransitioners, which is interesting.
Yeah, you get a lot less of me detransitioning than you do of the others, and it breaks my heart because these women are destroying their bodies. I can almost reverse everything I've done. I'm
Mm,
the facial surgeries, no. The boobs can come off. I can stop taking the drugs. Some of my sexual activity will come back, not all of it. But when a woman takes testosterone, it's over.
yeah,
Facial hair for life, chest hair for life, voice forever, never goes
yeah,
away. Always will be a dude talking. Um, arm hair, facial hair. It's just and not to mention your ovaries. Like you dry up
yeah.
down there. Yeah, you end up having to get a hysterectomy because your ovaries die or whatever happens.
I know I've seen like videos of Buck Angel talking about his experience, like having like vaginal atrophy and all these complications.
Yeah,
And
it's
he's another
scary.
person who's like maligned, and it's really unfortunate because like a lot of young trans people could benefit from listening to people like you who aren't just feeding them fucking bullshit, like who
Yeah,
actually have
you
some
think
some wisdom and life experience to share, who's been through that process. But unfortunately, I mean, I hope that a lot of it is it's just like younger people who will wise up, and then the next generation of young people will fuck it up again or something. I don't know.
well, they say
I
the
told you I feel like a boomer now because I was so not like this up until like so recently that I feel I can't even believe the words coming out of my mouth sometimes. I'm like,
no, don't worry about it. Do you want me to just say okay, boomer, just so you feel
I
good?
know.
You're not boomer. You're not even thinking like a boomer. Actually, a lot of the boomers are starting to come around to our side. Like yeah, that's fine. That they should be able to live happily. Um, but yeah, it's not going well for that. Man, Buck Angel is a great influence. I know so many people love him so much. Everybody keeps asking me and him to get together and do videos.
You should.
And we just don't.
I would love to watch something like that.
Yeah, well, and I would like to, but it's a lot of echo chamber. It's why I don't do any. Blair doesn't do videos with anybody, but I don't do videos with Sarah. Not because I don't want to, but it's basically just us bitching
Mm,
about the other side. I want to do videos with
yeah.
neutral people like yourself who are just curious. Or I did a video with Andrew Wilson, who's 100% my enemy. Like that's
Yeah.
on him, though. I don't have any ill will towards him, other than some of the things he said to me were not kind. And he said they're not personal, but it was bullshit. And
I have
yeah,
to check it out because I think I saw it pop on my timeline, and because I wanted to see a couple of interviews with you, and I was like, well, I don't know if I need to see this debate because I was like, I can tell what kind of vibe like there is a more like super far right conservatism popping up that's genuinely anti-LGBT or LGBT or whatever. Like
it totally
I do
is.
see
Yeah.
that pop up and people being against gay marriage, and it's like it it's it's sad to see that come back up, but it's what happens when you have so much on the far left extremism that's radicalizing people on the other side.
Yeah, like I would love to debate with like Destiny or people who don't agree with my life's values or my life's work or what I'm standing for. But unfortunately, all the activists, they don't want to sit down and have a nuanced conversation. They just want to bitch and yell and make signs and protest and make people feel like shit online. Like
Yeah.
social
Yeah, they want to
justice
harass you
warriors.
on Twitter, like write
Yeah.
thousands of messages, and then if you ask to talk in conversation, nope, excuses, like, oh, you just want to blah,
Hmm.
blah, blah. And it's like, no, I genuinely want to talk to you like a fucking human being, like to see what the heck is going on, why we are having this back and forth. And it's so hard typing back and forth at a certain point. You just have to stop. You have to just leave the argument, you know?
Yeah, but like I said, I welcome that, and that's part of why I didn't continue on my. I still do my YouTube channel. I try and put out a video a week, but um, it's like I don't want to talk in echo chambers. I want to argue with people, and I don't get that because nobody wants to come on my show because what are they going to tell me? I'm trans and I say no.
I know.
They, like they're not going to win in their argument to say, oh, trans and yes, like they should be included in everything. I say no, but if you want to tell me why, I'd love to hear it. And
That's where I'm at too. I'm like waiting to hear this like great argument that's going to convince me, and it just isn't happening, you know. But I'm totally open. My mind is like open. I don't have any like my only strong feelings are towards like the broader idea of like protecting women's spaces, but I don't even view it as like trans people are trying to invade our spaces. It's just like an unfortunate situation where not all parties are going to be happy. So I'd err on the side of protecting, the 50% of the population that's women versus the like 1%, that's trans.
0.1% trans.
Or
um,
yeah, well, I don't even know what the stats are because I see just
yeah,
women
it
varying
changes
reports.
now. I don't know what it is now either. But to your point on that, like, I don't want to. Oh shoot, where were we going with that? So I want the liberals or the warriors of the justice. I want them to explain to me why their quality of life is any less than it could be just because they're not included in the women's division. Like, there's no reason they can't still enjoy a quality life. I do. Yeah, life ain't fair. Sometimes you don't get to do everything you want. Like, that's why we have rules, regulations, legislation. We paid this government to set rules for us to keep society sane and peaceful. Well, this is part of it. Yeah, I don't want government telling people they can or can't be LGBT or they have to be. Because I don't want that either. Like, if you want to be liberal, you want to be conservative, whatever. If you want to be gay, straight, it's fine. But I don't see why your quality of life, other than their narcissism and internal validation, that's all that they can bring to my table and say, okay, well, I need to be in the women's bathroom because it validates my feelings as a woman. So what? You don't get to impose your evil on other people that are on. You don't get to make everybody uncomfortable just because you want to be valid. Up here. You know, and if you're not
That's like a
validated,
not fulfilling way to live, to be
it's not.
living from
And
validation to validation is that's going to set you up for a lot of sorrow and unhappiness.
that's all they
You
want.
know?
Is they want validated by others. They want validated. They want accepted. But that shouldn't come at the cost of someone else, right?
Yeah.
That is not someone else's burden to bear to make sure you're acceptable. And if you don't feel accepted and society doesn't accept you, you need to work on yourself. Like, that's the biggest thing with me and what made me so popular off the Jubilee debate. Not that I'm not popular anymore, but
Well, no,
I
you in
said,
the comments you had I noticed it seemed
oh
universally
yeah,
like people were at least kind of getting your point, and they weren't, there was a general vibe towards being positive towards you.
yeah,
I
everybody loved Aunt Jessica, but because
thought.
I'm so old. But the statement that got me my popularity was, I know I don't pass. Okay. And I said this earlier in your show, but I know I don't. It's okay. And it's fine. But so if I don't pass and I want to be in the women's room and I want them to not know that I'm a guy, I got to work on myself, whether it's in here or out here. I need to have female mannerisms. I need to look like a female, be a female, walk like a female, move like a female. Do you know how hard that is? Like, as a guy, half your life, doing dude stuff like throwing a pen down on the
Yeah.
table. Like, that's a guy thing. A girl would just
Yeah.
set it down. That's how women act. And I work on that every single day of my life when I'm out to dinner, eating proper with a fork, sitting up straight, good posture, turn your head, listen to people, be, pay attention. But like I
Well, because
said,
you value how others feel around you and you value
I
society
do.
at large. You're not operating from a place of me, what's gonna make
Mhm.
me feel good right now. Like it's just,
Yeah. I
and
mean,
that's what we're up against. It's absolutely insane.
yeah, I mean, my dream has always been, and then I know it's getting late, but my dream has always been, and I've maintained this the whole time. Well, it used to be passable, but I know that'll never happen. So that's okay. Like that ship sailed years ago. I got it. But um I wanted to always walk into dinner to a restaurant with my boyfriend,
Hmm.
and have not one person look up and go, "Whoa," like, oh,
Hmm.
that's a dude, or look at that freak.
Hmm.
Or go to a movie theater and I'll have the whole movie because I go to movies a lot and the whole theater stares at me while I walk, this 6'4" Amazon bitch walking down the aisle, finding her seat,
Oh, I didn't
you
realize
know.
that you were really tall because I was like, you keep
Well,
saying you don't pass, and I'm like, what is giving it away? But I guess if you're like a taller person, that tends to
I'm I'm
hold.
about 5'10", but I wear chunky
Oh,
heels
okay. You
sometimes.
said, I was like, well, if you're 6'4", you're not even that tall.
No,
I have
yeah,
like a lot of female friends that height, so
I don't wear stripper heels, but a lot of my shoes are chunky, so I have
yeah,
like a 2-inch platform and then a 4-inch heel, so I'm like 6'2".
yeah, yeah.
Either way, I'm tall when I'm wearing my shoes. So
But I
but I
know a
have
lot of
Nikes.
trans people, they just want to, like the trans people who I've just happened to know in my life who I don't know through activism. Generally, their largest desire is to just live as opposite sex, not live as this trans identity every day, all day about trans. It's like, let me transition and just live my life this way, period. And it's like not,
I wish, yeah. That would
yeah.
be so great, like just to blend in. Like it's always been the trans that of the circles that I run in, it's always been the same goal. Blend in and be a
Mhm,
contributing member to society. Like that's all we've ever wanted to do.
mhm.
Just want to be a part of society. And I want to be, natural looking, normal, whatever you want to call it. But it can't come at the expense of others. And
Yeah.
that's a simple rule to live by. But apparently it's hard
I
for this
know.
one.
Well, and this is why I think, like, maybe I am getting old because I just feel like so much of it is like, well, first off, as a generation, we're in this like internet experiment and we're all just seeing how it plays out. Apparently, it's crazy. So we see that now, and
Possible.
now we are trying to rein it in. And I don't know how much I can contribute, but I try to put stuff out just so people can see that, like, not everyone is absolutely like on these fringe extremes. Like, like I want people to see that, like, I have a lot of trans people I love and accept in my life, but I do have these boundaries around sports and prisons and like very specific situations. And I want people to know that you could be like that. I think it's so important for you to, I'm gonna wrap up soon because I have to get going. But I really hope you keep putting yourself out there with the channel. And even though it seems like a very thankless job, you are getting into people's minds, and you never know what's going to hit later in a couple years, like something you said, like, or maybe you'll think someone, think twice, like a young woman who, got like influenced into whatever. So you never know what words are going to hit someone in one way, and even if it just helps one person, that's great. So
Thank you. Yeah, I need to push past that in my head where I think nobody's listening anymore and I'm just saying the same shit every week because I literally am. I'm just saying it about a different athlete who's cheating.
mhm.
So, but it's
But
just a
still,
constant.
that's it needs to be said, and sometimes important things need to be said repeatedly. So,
Yeah,
you
they
know.
do. And I tell everybody on Twitter that gets in a debate with me, please do the research because I need more voices. We need more
Mhm.
voices to come together and make these decisions and protect society as a whole. And yeah, just I want to thank you so much for having me on and let me rant for an hour.
I love it. I
It's
love ranting
so,
and raving and smoking
so
cigarettes.
good to talk to you. Yeah, so good to
Yeah, is
talk
there
to you.
any do you want to shout out your Twitter or YouTube or
You can follow me on Instagram. It's jessicagill.27. That's my race number and my daughter's birthday also. So
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's always been my race number all my life, number 27. Sometimes 227, but the yeah, just Jessica Gill Las Vegas is my YouTube channel or jessicagill.27 on Instagram. Those are the only two that social media things that I really post on. I don't do Facebook or TikTok that much, but I'm not even on TikTok anymore, but I'm on Facebook. I don't do much on that. Just watch stupid videos, I guess, like the rest of
Yeah.
society. So yeah, I'm sorry to take up all your time, but yes,
No,
it's been so
no.
great.
I mean, I'm not in a rush to. I just have to go to pee at some point. Is the only. I've been
Yeah,
sitting here chugging this Red Bull the whole time.
girl, I took care of that before the video. But I do want to say, as an invitation, if there's people who've watched this show and want to come on your channel, bring them on with me. If there's questions they have for me, please, let's do it. You know, let's get a 3-way debate going, or even 4
I
people
would
on here. I
love
know
that. I would love,
that gets a little bit rowdy. I hate 4 people sometimes. Everybody talks over each other. But if there's anybody in your audience that wants to chat and has questions, and what do I think about this, or something that we didn't touch on, please, let's do it again. You know, that would be great.
Yeah, that'd be freaking awesome. And I'm trying to find people on the other side of the fence too to talk to try to keep my channel like balanced, and always want to hear people out even though I'm not fully understanding their perspective. I try to, be in good faith as much as I can be. But all right,
Sure.
I guess I'm going to hit end stream now and then we'll go backstage. And thank you everyone for watching
All right,
live.
bye.
Bye.